Ever since their inception with Pitfall, 2D platformers have always been characterized by two things: their challenge and their gameplay. Because for a genre like this that actually requires skill to proceed, it's best that the player is met with both a hardship and a unique way to solve it. And that's why I love games like Mario World, Celeste, and Super Meat Boy. It's because they all perfectly understand this philosophy and are able to create such amazing experiences in their own merits. But as the genre continued evolving through the years and began experimenting with many more design choices, a new characterization was formulated. And unlike the previous two, this one is able to make a game feel unique while being much more subtle in the process. This is, of course, atmosphere. Now, atmosphere games are nothing new in today's modern age. I mean, just look at games like Limbo or Hollow Knight. Both of them scream creativity and emotion through their design, so why am I bringing it up? Well, it's because for a while, platformers lacked this sense of immersion. Sure, while early entries in this genre were still made awesome through reasons I just mentioned, there really wasn't much that separated games in terms of their tone outside of a few music pieces. And while at the time no one thought much of it, it was definitely a flaw that was prominent in the industry. But when all seemed lost, our sorrows were heard, and soon Gamer Jesus came down from the heavens and said, "My sons, here is the greatest game ever," and bestowed upon the world his grand creation of Open Season for the GameCube, and also Donkey Kong Country. There are very few words I can think of that perfectly describe my love for Country. The game is such a seamless masterpiece that has not only aged beautifully over time, but continues to find new ways to amaze me every time I play it again. Aside from its amazing graphics, tight controls, and beautiful soundtrack, DKC is just one of those games I can't praise enough without sounding redundant. But that's not why it's the subject of today's video. The reason why Country is getting the spotlight is because of how it almost single-handedly revolutionized atmospheric design. And it all has to do with one thing. Well, it's a bunch of things, but the first thing is its world. Unlike a lot of platformers at the time that like getting more out there with their settings and locale, Country takes a completely different approach and decides to have a much more down-to-earth and, in a sense, realistic world to explore. Now, the thought of a game being more grounded with its design was something developers used to avoid like the Black Plague, because by doing so would take away some of the player's immersion in the world and would cause it to no longer feel any different from their own. Yet, this is something that Country perfectly understands. So to combat this issue, the game fills its stages with vivid sceneries and lush environments that use a sense of realism as a way to both enhance a certain tone or nature and to build upon the world itself. I mean, take for instance the first level in the game, Jungle Hijinks. It begins with the player jumping right into the action, with a massive lush jungle engulfing the entire vicinity, and accompanied by an emotional darkening sky. But finally, by the end of the stage, the time shifts into the night and leaves everything with a rather eerie overtone to perfectly highlight this transition into darkness. However, by entering the next stage, you'll see that not only did the nighttime aesthetic follow over, but now you're in the middle of a massive rainstorm with thunder roaring in the distance. But as you continue your journey through the darkness, you'll once again reach the end, where you're greeted with the storm finally passing as the sky returns to its former glory. And I feel like it was at this moment where I began to realize just how amazing Country's world actually is. From the vibrance of the locales I was exploring to stages like these carrying over aesthetics from one another. It was definitely an eye-opener for sure, and the best part about it was those were only the first two levels in the game. There is still the entire rest of the adventure to look forward to, and in all honesty, it just keeps getting better from here. From the haunting nature of areas like Stop and Go Station to the chilling ambience of Coral Capers and Clam City. Every stage distincts itself with not only certain gimmicks and set pieces, but also with their incredible atmospheres and organic designs. And while a lot of credit for creating these designs can be placed on a Country's beautiful pre-rendered graphics, which not only gives the game an incredible visual flair, but also allows for much more detail in sceneries and character sprites, in my honest opinion, the true driving force for all of its atmosphere and emotion comes from the music. Now, if there's anything people have continuously praised about the Country games, with the exception of 3, are their beautiful soundtracks, and for good reasons too. Because aside from just sounding great, every song from their instrumentations to even their tempos and structure all perfectly highlight whatever type of mood their respective stage is trying to establish. For example, take Snow Barrel Blast's theme, Northern Hemispheres. It begins with a slow droning hum until over time building in intensity as more instruments come in to symbolize symbolize the impending blizzard, or even with the song Fear Factory, which plays over levels like Oil Drum Alley and Blackout Basement. Thanks to its very fast pace and rather threatening tone, it perfectly simulates the feeling of entering enemy territory and having a lingering sense of helplessness while doing so. And of course, I have to mention Aquatic Ambience, which is arguably one of, if not the best song in the entire series. This song is the definition of atmospheric, and while I don't want to spend too much time discussing it, because everyone else who's already played this game has, just do yourself a favor and look up the extended version, sit back in your chair, and let the majesty sink in. So with both the incredible soundtrack and beautiful design in mind, I think it's pretty clear why I find this game so special. While it's definitely not the most intricate platformer in terms of level structure, due to the lack of branching pathways or secret exits in a lot of these stages, Country more than makes up for that with everything the game accomplishes in its place, like building an emotionally investful world that can flawlessly shift tonal-wise on a dime. And keep in mind too that this game is centered around two stupid-ass monkeys trying to get their banana hoard back from crocodile pirates. So if that premise isn't outlandish enough for the world it takes place in, then I don't know how to finish this sentence. Bottom line is, Country is an amazing game. Not only for everything it does on a gameplay standpoint, but also because how it essentially revolutionized the platformer genre with its design. And as a result, more games began focusing on creating atmospheres through their worlds as well, to both give the player a unique experience and to help distinguish themselves outside of gimmicks. The game may not be perfect, but it's so goddamn good that I'm able to be in complete denial about any flaws it has. Play the game, or don't, I don't care, bye.